final reading of the Louisiana Review reading series for the spring of 2010. Just to let you know, we'll be back in the fall, and so, you know, come back. All right, first of all, I have a few things to take care of. First of all, this is the open mic sign-in sheet. Please note that there's a 5-minute limit. If you have poetry or fiction, there's a section to fill in here. And if you have music, there's a section to fill in here. So I'm going to pass this around, and can you hear me okay? Can you? Really? Yeah. You hear me now? Okay. So I'll pass this around, and if you have something to read or something to sing, please sign up. All right. The next order of business. This is a tradition with our reading here that we do something that that began in France in the early 20th century, long time ago, called the Exquisite Corpse. And the idea was that you would write a line of poetry and then pass the sheet over, and there would be another line of poetry, and then you would write another line of poetry. So basically, everybody here must write one line of poetry and then pass it on. And at the end of the show, I'll read, let me try this here. I'm trying to find the right thing. You're having trouble with okay. Yeah, so anyway, that's the way we'll work this. So I'll pass it to you, because you're the closest person to me. And then you'll write, but now before that happens, I need a first line. So somebody give me a line of poetry. Any line of poetry. You can make it up.
I like turtles.
What?
I like turtles.
I like turtles. That sounds very promising. I like turtles. All right. And then, of course, you'll write the next line, and y'all will follow suit. Okay. So then, now, at this point, I would like to introduce our featured reader for this evening. I'll let the latecomer sit down. He is Keagan LeJeune. Keagan LeJeune is an associate professor of folklore and English at McNeese State University in Lake Charles, a good school. Well, yes, a very good school. I've been there. He teaches folklore and undergraduate creative writing. He has published several poems and articles considering, maybe I do need to put my glasses on, my goodness. Considering? Is it considering Louisiana folk life? Okay. So he has published several poems and articles considering Louisiana folk life. His book, Always for the Underdog, traces the life of Leather Britches Smith, a Louisiana outlaw who was killed in 1912. The book will be released by the University of North Texas Press and the Folklore Society, and the Texas Folklore Society in November. So, please welcome Keagan LeJeune.
Thank you very much for having me tonight. Can you hear me okay back there? I'm going to try to make sure the mic, I want to make the mic do that weird sound. What is it?
I don't know.
I want to make it. You water mic? No? Okay. The first poem I'm going to read is called Coffin Spoons, and I should explain that a little bit. You've probably seen this before, but in the old days when people would be sick and about to die, relatives and friends would come over and help take care of the person while they were at home. They would feed them and bathe them, and as an expression of thanks, the family would give them a present. And sometimes it would be a nice spoon that they used to feed the sick person. That's probably the longest explanation I'll give you. Hopefully I don't need to explain too many of these, but this poem is called Coffin Spoons. After love turns dust, I'm sorry, that was loud. After love turns dirt, the body at rest, there are no gifts to give the wife. The sons who whisked his best black suit, the daughter who pared his fingernails. So with pockets full of office keys and back seats cluttered with kids out of school, we drive across town, if for nothing more than to sink our tires in the kin's front yard. We go to confirm the home's a tidy mess, hefty bags hung on the handles of the doors, a message pad left by the phone, a coat closet full, an ironing board in a bedroom standing like a stone. We go in part to shuffle down the line formed in the kitchen, to eat our share of food, to feel the cold backs of the folding chairs through our starched cotton button-downs. We go, though, most of all, to stand around and wait for a plate to break, a car to stall, some wrong moment that's right enough to prove his hands out of pocket, the world's no more good. This next poem is called A Killing. Tell me it's not how we learn our limits, the point at which we bite our lip, stay our hand, cage our most artful designs that frenzy like the year the rats gorged in the wheat, till the grain grew alive with fur and disease, and the farmers worried about mouths to feed. My father said he couldn't blame the men, come, breath like hatchets, to earn extra cash, nor the steps others felt cornered to take. Nor could he name the reach of his own arm. If asked, those what-ifs few care to give to even the smallest part of their brain. Then rats poured from grain like milk from the bottle, and each save the last in his long list of cures proved useless as baby in the cradle. So he let the lie crawl out the feed shop bag to form a white circle all the way around the mound of peanut butter trapped at the center. None of that offered an ounce of knowing. It was the dawn. The barn floor wet with screams. The rats knowing long before they crossed the lie the lengths that need willed them to embrace. It was their tearing at their feet with fury and joy, like our fathers wrestling free from their work boots. This next poem is about actually a true story about hunting. And one of my uncles. It's called Bliss and 10 Acres of Pine. In Carhartt boots, soles thick as a dead man's tongue, he climbed down the stand, knuckles white on the last rung. And when he realized what he would carry home, his heart leapt, then buckled like the wounded stag. He wondered if the weather turned, his sweat tasting of the sap of a longleaf pine, his left arm feeling like it had fired the gun, his fingertips honed to an antler's point. He knew his wife wouldn't worry enough to call till his liver sat cold on that night's supper plate. He could name the hunters able to read the signs, could list too what they were bound to find. His truck hunched at the break in the fence line. The trail of kumquat pills he let fall to the ground. His face, pale to match the birch he fell beside. The buck's perfect nostrils, thrilling with flies. This next poem, like these last two poems, might be a little depressing. I have two little girls, one's 8 and one's 6, and this is about when they would come to me with a little scratch or skinned knee, and they would cry, and I could give them hugs and kisses and stuff and make things better. And then one day when that was happening, I realized that could really change one day. It's called Honey in the Rock. That's a line that comes from that old song, Didn't Leave Nobody But the Baby, and it's about the husband leaving everything except for the baby with the mother. It's called Honey in the Rock. Can we deny how it blooms to its own sort of sweetness? The scraped knee, the insect sting, the tears that follow, the need, fresh as clover, as the child busies us inside for the salves and bandages, for hushed words beating from lips like bees' wings brushing petals. But it doesn't take us long to taste everything turn sour, to know even the bees collapse as all their insides darken to smoke, to storm clouds, to a comb of splotches on a radiograph. This poem is about my father. My father recently passed away, and he was a loving father, but one that would never really talk a lot about how he felt. And a lot of times we do work together, and my job was to hand him something that he needed. And this is a poem about that. It's called Work. If I can unlatch the heart like a toolbox and clumsy around till I pulled the tool you named, the job before us might not go so bad. But as dead square as the angles in this old place, my mouth's a bucket of bent 10-penny nails shut up in the corner of the workroom, and yours, the capstone cistern we kept as part of the foundation, since neither of us could figure how to work it from the ground. We talked in the introduction, there was a little bit about some of the work I do as a folklorist. The book that I've been working on a lot is about an outlaw in Texas, and he gets involved in the timber unions that started in Louisiana around the turn of the century. And while I was working that book and talking to people, this is the kind of story that they would tell me. And I just thought these stories were so great, and I wanted to write a poem about them. So this is a story, basically a story about one of these families in that area. And these are, all that timber west Louisiana along the Sabine River. It's called No Call for a Punch Clock. And I probably should explain, I don't know if they still have punch clocks. I would think that someplace they do, but they used to. Do you have a punch clock at where you work? Yeah, we have. Okay, so this is about unions and maybe a time when there weren't punch clocks. This is called No Call for a Punch Clock. I should also explain too what a Pinkerton man is. Those were hired men that people would come down. They would hire them to come down often to be detectives or to break up unions. They were, muscle. No call for a punch clock. When a Pinkerton man with a Stetson hat pulled a black Pierce arrow up in his drive, Granddad Burge quit working on the bridle and killed the baying of his Walker hound to be sure to seize the first words fired from that company man. The boss don't lie. If the moon's not out, you can work till dark. Moon's out. You had no cause to come home. Granddad explained he aimed to save the guy a step or two, and thus advised him to ride his black sedan back to town, and well as not, park in front of the mercantile, not the office doors. The whole town knew once the Pinkerton told the suits would say hire a man, add 2 bullwhips to the mill's tally at the store, revisit old man Burge with a farmer hand, and explain that if the sawyer ain't around to join men to timber, not a soul in town can hope to wrangle much more than a dime. So Ned Graves, with a heavy thumb besides, penciled in the company's name and asked the two men if they might not come back for whiskey, snuff, a few cigars. And the Pinkerton man and the hired gun in all saved 7 steps when they walked from store to car. They drove a second time that August night to Granddad's scrawny home up in the pines, and since that world had seen its share of rain, the car dug 2 deep ruts during the drive. That night, Sheriff Reed managed to miss the ruts on his way out to see what he heard of the men, the bullwhips, and Granddad Burge. At dawn, the sheriff hurried home for biscuits, and as eggs dodged the tracks back to town, even though his Model A was loaded down with 2 bodies, 2 bullwhips, and that Stetson. So that's it. I hope you can figure out what happened. That's really nice of you. This other little poem is maybe something that you do probably have some experience with. It's about a folk healer and going to a folk healer's house. This is another thing based on my dad when he was sick. It's called When the World Goes Broken. Sheer mayflies pistoned as we parked in the grass, and what was bound to be more than weeds boomed in every bed. Then Dad killed the car between a sassafras and a toothache tree. The healer's house wore an aluminum door like a surgical mask. We knocked, shook hands, and sat at his kitchen table edged with chrome that gleamed beneath the kitchen light. It began with the engines of old Fords. Next, the thistledown of spider-mite silk. Then how the weather had us good and full. But the talk ended when the words skid, as they do, to how the world has broken down, somewhere back down roads not worth rewalking. What else he tinkered with? A cord of knots, a card, a statue to stick up on the dash, my hands having the skill to reassemble. For payment, nothing. We knew the way out. For compensation, 2 $10 bills tucked up under the sugar bowl lid. This next little poem is about my little girl too, and it's based on a real experience of us, the two of us sort of lying in bed, and suddenly she started looking around the room and starting to ask me where the furniture that we had came from. And when I had to tell her about it, I realized it was kind of a creepy place to live if you're 8 years old. And hopefully you'll see why it was sort of creepy, but not maybe so creepy. It's called Inheritance. My mind half dead in pajamas, the house a bed. My 5-year-old suddenly alive as she wonders about her shabby chic dresser with a family of roses splayed on the front and each side. I explain how the hand-me-down came to lean the wall. Her questions start to gather like junk in a drawer as her mind arranges all our furniture. Mirror, highboy, kitchen table, chairs, any piece she hasn't seen us unbox and assemble. Soon we step through the house's rooms so I can put to rest how each object ended there. How a 2-story kitchen hutch from the farm clutches our suburban's home, save jumble. 2 servers, like spinster twins who never split. Why they hover in the corners of the dining room. How even the poor man's chandelier that some former owner abandoned here dangles above us like a pair of earlobes. Eventually, as we both know we would, we end in the darkness of her room, broken by a small light down the hall. We need no words to slip back in bed. The quiet falls when she asks if I can stay next to her as night's full length descends. An Afghan handed down through a family of faces we can't quite place, but recognize. This next poem is also about unions. It's sort of connected to those stories I heard. This one hits a little closer to home, I guess. It's called Cut Dead. The fence row, knowing it was no count, swallowed tumblers full of shot engine oil, and when the work turned to loose dirt, he stayed out there, pouring it down. Then in the backfield, the lowboy cub, scabbed for the broken down John Deere, curled up like a lump of yellow dog with no mind to move. His legs slid back like the bolt action of a gun, then fired a front kick into the tractor's side. The strike broke nothing free, save his hat, covered with the badge of his local 104, and an afternoon filthy from a few parts that refused to turn. This next poem is actually based on my mother-in-law, and probably like most, I don't know, probably most of you don't have mother-in-laws, but mine's crazy, so, and that's okay. And then I started thinking about, my wife is part of her, and that's okay too, because a little craziness in a marriage is all right. Then I started thinking about my little girls, and then I said, oh, maybe, that's not so okay. So that's what this poem is about. It's called The Burden of July. My mother-in-law's yard, her tree crazy with figs, we decide to make the chore a family trip. Step ladder, buckets, my wife, the kids. For the first few minutes, we just stand around, leaves doing the devil's work to hide what's good. It's not our first July. It's no surprise her mother's tongue fumbles in her head to pull what makes sense to pick. Her first words we hear hit the bottom of the pail. The rest pile up till we can feel the weight of our bucketfuls. We calculate the hours of labor to deal with what we hold. What's left is bound to spoil, but we can't bear the thought of gathering more. How can we leave to the mockingbirds what is ripened in our own backyard? Despite our early promises to each other, my wife and I carry home more than we want to use. And not knowing anything else to do, we take down the pots to preserve the fruit. The kids say cooked figs look like brains in a boil. And on the counter sits the family's canning jars, labeled with the month, the year, and each child's name. Here's another little poem that ends in I don't know, it's probably not a happy poem. It's not that sad, but it's not that happy. I should explain, probably all of you know this expression because, you're from here, but the expression, when a tree is making, that means, in my family you might ask, did your pecans make this year? Did your tree make this year? It means, did you get a lot of pecans this year? That's probably all I need to explain. It's called The Year My Brother's Tree Was Making Good. I know the clang when a pecan strikes 10, like a howl from a bitch of a blue tick hound, a boot heel's tunk against the driver's side door, that fool on fire baying through the screen, her husband's short barrel making its sound. It's the kind of talk you can't ignore. That year, I picked his yard. No one else would. I ended with the trash bag halfway full and shoved it in the corner of the family room. To not pick it seemed a sin. The tree was making good, and I found the slide cracker and the shelling tools buried in the garage. The pick bright as the moon. Such a simple act. The pecan hasn't changed. The cracker's arm still comes down like the lard. The flesh on wait for some miracle of fingernail, as if it all could fall whole in the right set of hands. But the hanging bulb's light struggles like the dawn, and the pick, upright, teases along the shell. I only have a few more poems to read. This next poem my wife hates the most, so I thought it would be one of the ones I could kind of end with. She hates it because, like so many of these poems, it's not very happy. This is a true story too. At least it was the person who told it to me said it was true. It's called Sweet and Sour Cravings. What else sweet could the timber rattler crave, save the bare ankle of the woman's oldest child? Who knows? Reason for the world being so stays hidden in the hen's good laying hay, and the second boy's in the coop to find him, and her third, to be sure, is on the way. Nothing's as purposeful as this pattern of dead leaves, forest rot, and decay. What power of sound might drive a mother, already squeezed by early evening's chores, to quit the house? That question comes. Next, who is surprised by a mother's lash, thick as a rope and moving on its own? You know the feel of a snake underfoot, and the weighed space between our reckoning of what could be and the snake's head curling back. That's the distance from the chicken coop to the mother's youngest child, her baby girl back in the house, face down, floating in the bath. This next poem is a happy poem, I think. It's about Zydeco music. And the title of the poem is I Got a Paper in My Shoe. Do y'all know that Zydeco song? I Got a Paper in My Shoe. One of the really early Zydeco songs. It's about being so poor you got to put paper in your shoe to deal with the holes. You ever have a hole in the bottom of your shoe? You ever that? No? No? Yeah. Were you welcome to see me? Some of the boys, if you don't wear rubber shoes, if you have hard-soled shoes, nobody has those anymore. When you get old and you got to work at an office, you wear those shoes. Yeah, leather bottoms, they wear out and you get a hole. They put paper in there so your foot's not getting, okay. It's called, I Got a Paper in My Shoe. Yeah, a cardboard, yeah. But he's so poor he only had paper. This is Buzu, you know that Zydeco artist? Yeah, this is his song. One of the first Zydeco songs ever recorded. So this is about Zydeco, my idea of what Zydeco is all about. I got a paper in my shoe. The world has always been short on surprise. The girl goes bland, the dog strays, the windmill burns, the daughter gets shucked, the monkey gets gone. That mule called Shine plops his nasty pair of thighs plumb center of a field stinking with corn. The butcher knows, has for time out of mind, there's not enough fat back to go around, and figures that fact is worth at least a song. So he plays the lead in some local band, and since the whole crowd knows that a bite of ham tastes better once the teeth have gnawed the bone, they all learn how to beg for cornbread and sing along. So that poem is full of Zydeco songs. At least cornbread. Two more poems. This second to last poem is a longer poem. It's about an experience I have often when I go to little towns, any town, and I go to a museum and I see what they're doing in the cultural museum and stuff. And I always go in those places and I see what it's like, and they have like something that was like it was 50 years ago or 70 years ago, and I think that's really nice. And then I start to wonder, is anything changing? What if it's not? When I die? You know the story. Will it make a difference when I'm dead? It's called wayfinding. I should explain wayfinding. That's a heritage tourism term. People like to use that when you go on vacation. They want you to wayfind, or basically they want you to navigate through the world, because then you get more interested in what you're doing, right? So you want to make some cultural spots a little harder to find, like eating crawfish. You want that to be experienced, right? You want to be able to go out a little, in the woods, kind of. Wayfinding. At least tourists, when tourists eat crawfish here, they want it to be an experience. They like to drive kind of far. There's an old joke. Now I'm digressing. I'll tell you an old joke. One time, one of my professors said, he always gets the question, where's the best boudin in Louisiana and where's the best crawfish? You probably,
Yes.
and the joke goes that the boudin is always about a block away from your house, and the crawfish has to be at least a 15-minute drive. Does that make sense? Because boudin you eat all the time, you want to have it when you need it. Crawfish you want to have an adventure, so you drive far. Think about that. Well, maybe later. Okay. It's called wayfinding. That's the best crawfish in your backyard, right? Oh, yeah. Well, then now we don't have to clean up. Is that the thing? Oh. Okay, this is wayfinding. Farmhouse Red. I'll tell you. I'm gonna give up the source. I grew up in Jennings. So, have you ever been to Jennings? There's a museum on Main Street called the Tupper Museum. This is based on the Tupper Museum, so you can go there and visit. It's called wayfinding. Farmhouse Red, painted on the facade. The place's name, blocked and outlined. An open sign on the museum's front door. The door, still with a pane of opaque glass. Of course, a brass bell is wired to the frame. You grab the handle and give a tug. The weight at first seems too great to bear. You lean back, the sill breaks free, and you hear the quick suck of air as if someone strove some time ago to put up this place like a jar of figs. As if you stumbled on a prize worth shutting up, your brain starts to whir like an old machine. Then it all just gives. The door opens wide, and you realize the glass shelves arrange exactly how you thought they would. Patterns for Sunday clothes, still in the sleeves. Small bags of lavender for a woman's things. Unsoiled handkerchiefs, some nice writing pens. Tiny vials of medicines for warts or cough. A world stiff as the denim overalls, swinging from the ceiling on lengths of string. A small brochure explains it all. A general store, preserved for 80 years in someone's barn. You leave. It takes the walk back to the car, before the edges of the scene, yellow with worry. What if the building's rafters took to fire? Water slowly climbed the colonial stairs and all the columned homes with dated plaques. Or rust, like a fever rash, crept through all our storage sheds. Then the drive home, a night in bed, a week of newspapers piling on the lawn. Bit by bit, the stark black and white grows clear. Nothing has changed since you left, or will. So that's a little poem about dying and not mattering. This last poem I promised my wife I would end on because it's a happy poem, and she likes the happy poems. It's a honey poem. It's a very simple title. And before I read this poem, I do want to tell you that I really enjoyed coming here and reading these poems. It is not only enjoyable, but it's very nice to read, especially my poems, to a group of people that I think can sort of see how they maybe connect to their daily lives, because that's what's most important to me about poems and what I write. This poem is called Pleasure. 5 a.m. and winter rubs her cold feet against me. The alarm yelps like a courser, wild on a scent, and the half of the house that's always hungry stirs. The truck hacks up November's phlegm. Our town's last red light burns like a bullet hole as the road we take slips down to the river bottom. At camp, we stand to kick at embers until they break and gush what they know of Earth's warm hiding spots. We piss, and it steams like rifle smoke. When we speak, our breath enchants the air with ghosts of hunters who made the trails leading to our stands. There, the dawn explodes as an oak full of squirrels. That's it. Thank you very much. Okay, really great. Thanks.
Thank you, Keagan. Let's give another hand to Keagan. Thank you very much. And I just want to remind you that his book is available always for the underdog. Traces the life of Leather Britches Smith, a Louisiana outlaw who was killed in 1912. So, look for that. In the meantime, we'll take a short break, and why don't you belly up and get you some. All right, y'all, it's time for the open mic section of the evening. So, first of all, where's the line pole? Is it still running around? Adding to it? Okay, that's fine, as long as it gets back up here by the end of the evening. All right, we have a few people reading poetry or fiction, and a couple of people doing music. So we'll begin with the poetry and fiction and end with the music. So first up, we have, and this is what I've been instructed to say, we have preach. So, preach. Oh, but you said say this. I thought you meant only this right here. Okay. So is it Venus? Is it that? I'm trying to. I can't. My handwriting is so terrible. I can't read good handwriting. You see, that's the problem. Asia Vinay, aka Preach.
I used to want to be just like you. To have your hands of skill across the canvas. Your paintings were so beautiful that I never noticed you not speaking. Instead of words, you give me charcoal sticks and ebony pencils, and we connect through my newest sketchbook. Blank pages of coarse paper waiting to be filled by my thoughts. But one day I never noticed that neither one of us ever had a full tablet. Unable to finish pouring out our creativity onto those empty pages, just as we're unable to fill those gaps of awkward silences in between our miscommunicated relationship of father and daughter. And it's sad, because it's like you and I need those number 2 pencils to be doodling in the margins of our notepads for us to have even the slightest connection. Because when it comes to words, we're lost. Never knowing that those blue and pink lines across those pages were the foundation for all the words we could have said, but we didn't. And the more I flipped through my college-ruled notebooks, I saw that a sketchbook was the keeper of our memories like Flip. I remember how you taught me how to rub my thumb to blend in shadows on my pictures, but I never noticed that those lessons had taken the place of us holding hands and Flip. I remember how you taught me how to draw faces. It was around the time when you forgot how to read mine, and it brings a tear to my eye to know that once we put down our graphite sticks, all we have are pictures fronting from facade. 1,000 words could buy a million reasons why we shouldn't take family pictures, but we're left photoshopping our smiles up as we allow viewers to draw their own conclusions. However, they can only sketch an idea of how things are and Flip. One day I put down my sketchbook to pick up a tablet, and I taught myself how to draw. Because unlike you, this tablet welcomed my words with open pages instead of a turned face. So you have this knack for turning away from things you don't want to hear. Like our last car ride. I remember you watching me on the passenger side, counting the yellow stripes passing the road instead of looking at your face. And I wondered if someone could possibly capture this built-up anger in my soul and this pain in my heart as they draw the eyes on my face that are fighting back tears that I refuse to let fall. Because I refuse to cry for some man who only loves me proportionately at his convenience. I can't even tell you I love you without it feeling awkward. And how dare you ask to flip through my thoughts in this book when you refuse to listen to me speak? See, I'd find a way to create a poem out of my sketchbook's ashes before I ask for another art lesson from you.
Okay, next up is Anna Rain Jennings. All right, there we go.
This one is called To an Earth and Masterwork. Come, walk at my side. Leave behind these deadline-driven hours. The late-night grinding tedium of your studies I shall swab from your mind like chalk dust. Lay aside your umbrella. The September rain will not harm us. its frail winds strain to stroke our faces that survey the drenched cityscape smeared like a ruined charcoal sketch in blurred gray tones. Rain, like someone's downcast love story, spills from gutters onto blacktop, strikes the sentry-like street lamps. At my side, you in your soaked shirt, leaning against the cool wrought iron posts of a shop's overhanging, entranced, your gaze drawn beyond sloshing cars. Dare I intrude? Farther we might proceed until the city recedes behind us. A dim, violet dusk. Blue streaks of clouds etched into the west. Ancient oak stands silhouetted darkly against an expanse fragranced with damp soil and grass, beneath which lie those entwined in massive roots, forgotten, indistinguishable from the earth surrounding. Animate before acorns became these trees, one wonders where they found themselves. And do they remain? I reach skyward to a void of dark mystery, whose myriad fragments of stellar inferno beg the question, why? For those which evaded, distanced from us by light years, dead trails of brightness trace paths to where they once burned, all of it tragic and sublime as humanity's flicker. Observe this handful of grass, your own hands, these details. Your frailty realized, perceive the vast ingenuity of this cosmos and the unembodied mind from whence it came. Self-contained and beautifully ineffable. O love that conceives all love, wherein all loves terminate, be my own demise as I accept no other end. As for you, earth and masterwork, these thoughts of mine are yours to keep or to kill. All things worthwhile are yours.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Jessica Long. All right.
This poem is titled Live On Forever. I say live on forever. Leave something on this earth that will live on forever. Something that will make this world better. 'Cause see, you just living in your God-given purpose will usher in this new generation. Kill off all fantasies and quicken realities, and I say live on forever. I'm living in plans that will live on forever. 'Cause see, right now you just hear my words. But if you could look back into my past, you could feel my words. And no one can kill these words. And you may ask me why I look into my past. Because my past choices and decisions made me who I am today. And one day today will be my past, and I will be living on into my future where I will choose to live on forever. So today I encourage you to live on forever.
All right, next up is Chad Jennings.
This poem is titled Just Because. Just because I didn't hear her calling me doesn't mean she didn't say anything. Just because I didn't feel her touch doesn't mean she didn't reach for me. Just because I didn't feel the love that she expressed doesn't mean she didn't express it to me. Just because I ignored her tears doesn't mean she wasn't in pain. Just because I didn't support her dream doesn't mean she didn't have one. Just because she smiles and says, yeah, everything's okay, doesn't mean everything's really okay. She wanted me to hold her and ask her what's wrong, what's going on with us, and how can we fix this, and how can we make this better. Just because I didn't see her greatness doesn't mean the next man didn't. Just because her love was too deep for me to see doesn't mean she's gone and I'm all alone. Just because I wasn't good enough. Thank you.
Okay, gotta readjust this. All right, next up we have Kelly, is it Dougherty? Did I get that right? Kelly? Any Kelly? Oh, there's a Kelly. You emerge from the back.
This is about a friend who just kind of dwindled away. This world will take your intentions and twist them out of existence. Your beliefs it will undefine. Innocence the world devours. Your ideas were a blanket over my soul. Oh, how dare you, how dare you. You're about to go down and I'm not coming with you. The truth has been revealed to me.
Okay. Actually, I have. Okay, so now we move on to the music. Okay. Next up is Brennan Sanders.
Okay. The song is called Chariot.
And our last performer of the evening is, I hope I can read this, Gerald Dishler? Dishler. Well, you know, it can go either way, right? How y'all doing?
happiness. It can be for a spouse, a loved one, or even to God himself. It's kind of a neutral love song. It's called Happiness.
First of all, thank again Keagan LeJeune for being so kind to come and read to us tonight. Thank you so much. And again, this is the last reading of the semester for the Louisiana Review Reading Series. We will be back in the fall So look for us sometime, probably about the end of September, all right? Right now, I'm going to go ahead and read the line poem, which has been constructed by you, the audience. So I don't know what this says. I'm just going to read it. And here we go. I like turtles, stars and flowers, that floats through the air like doves on a sunny day. I'd like you to pass a flower my way and give me an orange so that I can make orange juice, and give me vodka, or give me death, and please give me the date. I like turtles. I'm a Jedi warrior of the spoken word. I'm being drowned by my thoughts, but I don't want to taste air because my imagination tastes so much better than the oxygen of reality. As blissful as a summer day, sweeter than my lover's kiss. Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory no one can steal. If people came with warning labels, dreaming keeps you living happily. Loving keeps you living sappily, like a pine tree. I'll make my own fruit, taken from the tree of knowledge. I'll learn my lesson and bake a cake to boot. A cake to boot? A boot what? Are we in Canada? I hope this says eat and a boot, but we are not in Canada. We in Louisiana, and I ain't got a pot to piss in. Or a window to throw it out of. What happened to that vodka? I want some with that orange juice. But drunken lizards won't eat pickles. Tickle, tickle, I want that pickle. That sounded way too sexual. Knock off Pepto. Yeah? What? Okay, fine. That's my addition, by the way. Knock off Pepto is the spawn of evil. Coins collected in a Navy beans can. So when do you think I can buy me a car with these coins? LOL. Silence speaks louder than words. So I write. That's it, y'all. That's the end. Thank you for coming out. See you next semester.